I'm Justin Boyd.
I'm Brittany Pacheco.
And I'm relieved.
Me too. And we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss episodes 5 and 6 of the Disney Plus series Daredevil Born Again. The episodes are titled With Interest and Excessive Force. Now, for some reason, Disney Plus gave us 2 episodes this week of Daredevil Born Again. I'm not really sure exactly why, because the 2 episodes don't really go together. But we're going to do our best to talk about both of them. We're going to do it individually. So let's start off with episode 5. Like I said, it's called With Interest. Let's get our overall thoughts on the episode. Brittany, start us off. What did you think about With Interest?
That one I was not expecting, because with the series, of course, we usually get multiple stories happening all at once, but this was different in the sense that it was just one story. It was self-contained. It was very Matt Murdock heavy, which I very much appreciated. And it brought back a character from another Marvel TV show that we have reviewed here on the Watchers in the Basement, from Miss Marvel. And that was Kamala Khan's father, who made a surprise appearance. I was not expecting that. I mean, the caption of the episode said that Matt Murdock teams up with a familiar character. And I'm like, well, who the heck could that be?
Yeah.
None other than Yusuf Khan, which was a delight for me. I enjoyed the episode. I thought it was well done. Matt's still scratching at that itch of, trying to come back to his true self, which is Daredevil. And I did enjoy the episode very much. Quick shout out to everyone who's in today's live chat. We appreciate so many of our watchers being here with us. Shout out to King B. Johnson with his prayer. I like this prayer, actually. Dear Lord, let these episodes be great, this live chat be safe, and the Marvel family grow. I appreciate that. Shout out to Rakib, who's joining us. It's been a minute, so thank you so much for being here as well. Shout out to Yesenia and M. Moose, who both say hello. Appreciate y'all being here.
Yeah, it's always great to have everybody with us for these live stream podcasts that we do. Frank, your thoughts on episode 5?
It was okay. I mean, I didn't really enjoy it. I'm at a point now. I'm kind of like, I just want Daredevil. I mean, I feel like we're getting everything but Daredevil. Like, I've gotten a lot of Law and Order. I've gotten The Negotiator with Samuel Jackson. I've gotten Inside Man with Clive Owen and Denzel Washington. I'm just kind of like ready for Daredevil. When my original excitement for this series or this reboot or continuation from the Netflix series was to get a healthy balance of Matt Murdock and Daredevil. Look, man, no, I didn't watch Miss Marvel. I'm not connected to Miss Marvel like you guys, like those who have watched it. I knew Kamala Khan is because I god awful Miss Marvel movie. But no disrespect to the Khans. I don't give a fuck about them. I got more Kamala Khan's dad than I have actual Daredevil in the suit. I got 35 minutes of Mr. Khan. I don't care. I give me Daredevil, please. Like, if this is like a detective, Constantine, or just some regular person who's not in a mask, cool. I'm fine with it. This is one of the best Marvel heroes as far as hand-to-hand combat fighters in the Marvel universe. Give me that. When I go watch NSYNC, I'm not there to watch JC Chasez. When I go watch Jackson 5, I'm not there to watch Tito on the goddamn drums. I need to see the show is called Daredevil. It's not called Matthew Murdock at Law. It's called Daredevil. Give me Daredevil. And I'm at a point now. I'm just sitting there and just waiting and watching scene by scene. Like, when Daredevil gonna show up? I've seen the fragment of the horn this season more than I did of actual Daredevil in the mask. And it's like, bro, like, I'm kind of just over it. Like, it's fine, it's cool, but I came for Daredevil, not for everything else that's on the show.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I mean, the one thing I will say is, like, yes, it's called Daredevil, but it's called Born Again. So they're trying to explain the story, bringing him back, and we'll talk about episode 6 in a little bit, and where we do get Daredevil back. So, and we do get Kingpin back. So they're getting to it. it is a little clunky. I will agree with that. And I think that this episode would have worked better if, because I like this episode. I like the fact that it was a self-contained story. It's a bottle episode. You really don't have to know anything about the characters. You can just kind of pop in. I mean, the Miss Marvel stuff, the way they talked about that character, they definitely thought that not a lot of people watched the show because the dad, he's just hammering it home like, my daughter, Kamala, the superhero, Miss Marvel, here's her Funko Pop. Like, it was like, yeah, we get like people. I mean, old school Marvel, they would have just said like, yeah, my daughter Kamala. And that would have been like, oh, he mentioned Kamala Khan, who's Miss Marvel. But like in this show, they're just like hammering us to the head, like, hey, remember this? Remember this from like 2 years ago? It's like we remember. Like those who watched it, those who didn't watch it, we kind of understand.
The
But
North remembers.
there you go. But I think this episode would look better if it were like an episode where Matt, because obviously he has the dual identity, right? And if it were an episode where he were already Daredevil again, but he's in a situation where he doesn't want to give up his secret identity, but he doesn't have his suit with him per se, right? So that would work because there's superhero shows and movies have done this for years and years and years. But in this example, it's before he actually becomes Daredevil again. So I get Frank's complaint about that, but otherwise, I mean, I enjoyed the bank heist. I enjoyed kind of the self-contained nature of the episode. Frank, you're going to say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say if they open up episode 7 at this man at Khan's house, I'm gonna be really upset. If it's a 20-minute dinner scene I know he invited him to dinner or whatever, and like again, like I'm fine with all the surrounding characters if you give me Daredevil, and it's just kind of like we're at episodes 5 and 6. We're past the halfway point of the season, and I've gotten Daredevil in the suit for approximately 8 minutes of 6 episodes. Like that's not good enough for me. It's just not. Like I need more. I'm not saying I need to see Daredevil in every episode, but goddamn, more than 8 minutes. Cumulatively 8 fucking minutes of 6 episodes, bro. Is all I got of Daredevil. That's not cool. This motherfucker is cold as shit, and I've only got him for 8 fucking minutes.
Yeah, no, I mean, point taken. I get you. I understand, but I mean, it is called Born Again, so they're trying to reintroduce the character via their story. So now, is it the best story? I don't think so. I mean, there's a reason why this season's kind of a Frankenstein of a story where you had an original story. They were going to do 18 episodes, and then they said, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to change up everybody. All the the showrunners and stuff. We're changing all that people out. But from what I've heard, this episode was going to be a part of the 18 episode version. So this episode was untouched, except for probably they added the part about Foggy because Foggy wasn't going to be mentioned or wasn't going to be shown. Like when he shows that's episode 6, isn't it?
That's episode 6. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I hate that Marvel gave us 2 episodes this week. I hate when they give us 2 episodes anyway. Just give us one. Let it breathe. Just
remember episode 5, bank. That's
right.
It. Nothing else.
Just the bank. Okay, so there's no mention of Foggy in episode.
No.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I just really don't understand why they did that. It's like, I mean, I guess because episode 5 had nothing to do with the overall story arc of the season. That's why they gave us episode 6. But I don't think you needed to do that. I think just do one a week and we're fine. I mean, the one thing about episode 5 that I did also enjoy is like Brittany said, it's a Matt centric episode. It's just Matt, right? He's in a bank. He's got to save these hostages. Like it's pretty good stuff, but despite not having the costume. But by the way, he does kind of have the costume at the end when he puts on the red mask from one of the bank robbers. I mean, he did wear the red one. It wasn't like the green one or the blue.
By the way, I would watch Matt Murdock, Attorney at Law. Okay, I just would. Especially if he's doing shit like that periodically and saving the day, but just as your friendly neighborhood blind guy, Matt Murdock. Just saying. He's a good lawyer. He's a really good lawyer.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was supposed to be, but they changed it up and brought in the people from the Netflix show. And like I said, I think season 2 will be much better, more cohesive. It'll make more sense. Getting back to this episode, Brittany, let's start hitting some of the moments in this episode. It's on St. Patrick's Day. Matt is trying to get a loan for his law firm. He's at New York Mutual Bank. We mentioned before, Kamala Khan's dad works there. And Matt, he leaves the bank empty-handed, but then he hears the robbery starting to happen. He goes back in to try to help. And why don't you pick it up from there? What did you think about the storyline of this episode? How they set up the bank heist aspect of it?
The fact that the heist was done by a bunch of Irishmen, which is still a group of people from even just a Netflix series. There was a lot to do with Irish, an Irish gang, along with many other families and gangs and things of that nature. That's also it also ties into the Punisher too, but that's beside the point. Irishmen robbing a bank on St. Patrick's Day. That's kind of interesting, not gonna lie, but perfect timing because everyone is out and about celebrating, drinking that pint of Guinness and just taking in the festivities, if you will. However, unfortunately, yes, people who still adult go to the bank need to do their errands, and unfortunately were held hostage for a period of time with these masked Irish men who were there for one thing and one thing only. It wasn't for money. It wasn't for money at all. No, it was for a one piece of jewelry, if you will, a ginormous diamond. And I think it was very clever with how things were ran, especially with the police negotiator who kind of showed off her skills, being able to identify the Irishman on the phone that he was from Belfast. She does a joke in an Irish accent, if you will. He was pleased, right? He gives the accent a 10 out of 10. He laughs at the joke. But things obviously are going to go sideways because they're not making much progress with getting what it is that they want, because Matt Murdock is being Matt Murdock. He's getting in the way of things. And I was entertained. I was entertained, especially when he was taking out that one dude in the red mask, because everyone's wearing different colored masks. So they were all referring to each other by the color mask that they're wearing. And it was good to see him fight in a stairwell, because that's something that is a callback to Netflix show, right, Frank, where you see like Daredevil or the man in the mask who is in a very confined spot and he's fighting off his opponent, and you're in there, you're right in there with him, which was something I didn't get in the first episode, but now we're kind of getting more and more of it, which I loved. I love that Matt Murdock's doing what he does best, and is that just kicking people's asses and saving the day, if you will. Frank, what are your thoughts?
Of the whole bank scene, or just the episode in general?
Well, the bank scene. I mean, he's trying to help Kamala Khan's dad, who's been taken to the vault because he's the assistant bank manager. And the guys think, oh, he can open the vault, right? We can get what we get and get out of here. But Matt's like, gotta save the day. The fight scene in the stairwell, how he ultimately ended up saving the day. Go.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great fight scene. It's again, like I've been very unsatisfied with the fight scene so far this season, because the first episode against Bullseye, it's very dark. It's the camera's moving around. You can't really see the action. So this one's a little bit better to see. I mean, outside of the cop scene episode, was that 3 or was that 2? When he beat the 2 cops. The fight scenes have been very shaky in my opinion, but like to see this, okay, episode 2, this fight scene was really, really good. I mean, the surprising element of isolating the suspect and being able to unhand him. Again, the prelude to it, as he's loosening up his tie, I'm like, shit, yes, finally. I'm starved for action. It's been since episode 2, so we're going on damn near 3 episodes of like any clear, concise fighting scene. So, him inviting the problem of going back into that bank to save the day. This is Daredevil. He wants the problems. He wants the issues. Like, I mean, this is a man who is ingratiated in his Catholicism. I get it, but like Matt wants the problems. Like him going into the bank, of course he wants to save the day, but this man hasn't. He probably hasn't trained in years. I know they saw a little montage of him like on the rooftop, and I think episode 3, but he starved for action, and I think this was for him a sign to get back to what he does best.
Yeah, and what he does best is just brutally beat people, which I like how he doesn't kill anybody, but man, he will damn sure change your life. For example, the leader, I think the guy's name was Devlin, the guy in the green mask. He basically we learned that like his goal was like his plan was to. I guess I really don't totally understand what his plan was. I guess he never anticipated killing anybody, and he exits whenever the cops come in, and he's dressed in a cop uniform to get out of there. And basically, the whole point was to get this diamond. He passes it off to this lady who's a plant who's in the one of the quote unquote hostages, and he instructs her to go give it to the boss, whoever the boss is, whether that's Luca, whether that's Vanessa, maybe it's
Yeah,
even
it was Luca.
Okay.
It was Luca. He tells her, he goes, take this straight to Luca as he's walking away in the police uniform.
Yeah. But Matt then like follows the guy, puts on the red mask, beats the hell out of the guy in this basically kind of like in the street. And he does this like jump from like 4 feet away and just crushes the guy's leg, snaps the guy's leg like at the knee, maybe like just below the knee. This guy's never walked. He's never going to walk.
I think it was at the shin. It was at the shin because Matt comes flying in with like a flying knee, and just lands on dude, and it just breaks in the most brutal way. And I'm like, felt that in my soul.
He's never going to dance again, that guy, So, and then he stomps.
Have got no rhythm.
We don't
really music for the day.
No copyright claims on YouTube, Brittany. You're gonna have to stop. Then he stomps in the guy's face like he's brutal. Like, but you like to see it. You love to see it. I thought, the episode again. I guess part of the reason why they had these two episodes back to back on the same night was because they're both the shortest episodes so far. I think one of them was like 42 minutes, the other one's 45 minutes. So maybe that's why they put them together. But cohesively, they don't mesh that great. And then kind of finally to wrap up on this episode, as far as like the storyline, as Frank said before, Yusuf invites Matt to dinner, which I don't think we're going to see the dinner this season. That's probably a season 2 thing, is my guess. There's only 3 episodes left. I even wonder like if we're going to get Punisher again this season. I don't honestly know. I wouldn't really bet on it. And then earlier in the episode, Yusuf offered Matt some of his candy. It looks like butterscotch candy or something, and Matt turned him down. Well, then now he takes the candy, and when he takes the candy, he puts the gem, the diamond, whatever, which is similar color to the butterscotch, in the candy bowl, and the dad finds the diamond in the candy bowl. Frank, I want to ask you, I mean, this is not an infinity stone, but like, is there any significance to this diamond? Because they keep showing it has like a special kind of gleam. It's like sort of orange, look like to me. Like, is it somebody's like secret, something they put in their ring or necklace, or any backstory that you can tell us about?
Nah, I don't recall. I read the 2015 comic book. I don't recall that diamond being that 2015 comic book issue that I read. My only inclination is that maybe it's something that Kingpin owns, or maybe it's a way of getting back to Kingpin, or it's something that was, that's under Kingpin's jurisdiction. I don't know. Like, it's interesting that diamond was such a focal point in the story. Maybe it'll come up later on in the season. I have no clue.
Yeah.
Those are my thoughts exactly. I thought that maybe they were trying to steal from Kingpin, from his vault in the bank, and sell it for something that obviously is going to be at least worth 1.8 million because of the fact that Vanessa had told one of these people, it's hard to keep, track of everyone, right? The tracksuit gang, and then you've got the Irish gang, and then you've got like everyone else. Someone owes Luca restitution at the value of 1.8 million because of the botched heist. And I think they probably just figured, well, let's just steal it from under the boss and sell it and be done with it. Right. I don't think the diamond really is of any consequence beyond that episode. I think it was just a means to showcase this is how they were going to get their money.
I just wondered because they kind of lingered on it for a little bit longer than you would think. So I'm always curious, like when they take up a little bit of extra time. So just like the Luca character, remember like in the first episode, they put the camera on him for a little bit longer than everyone else at that table. And I thought, I thought initially he was like Vanessa's lover, but turns out he wasn't. But turns out he does have some kind of importance in the show. So when they do that stuff, it's usually kind of a tell that there's more than meets the eye. But not sure about this one.
I probably wouldn't put a whole lot of stock into this. I think it was just to showcase,
Yeah.
like, to linger on the diamond itself was to showcase the color of it, because it's not typical to see like a yellowish, like, if you will, a canary diamond, which are very rare, and to show how easily Matt could like swap it with the butterscotch candy wrapper that looks similar in color. I think that's probably just the significance behind it.
Okay. Frank, any other thoughts on this episode? Anything we didn't mention that you want to talk about?
No.
Brittany, what about you? Anything?
Frank's like, let's move on. Let's go to the episode that actually matters
Please.
in his life. I mean, to show the comment from M Moves here, give Frank the Daredevil. And
we're about to. Don't worry, we're gonna get there. Brittany, anything we didn't talk about you want to mention?
I think overall I enjoyed the episode. Just that the little takeaways, if you will, about Kamala, and just kind of tying it back into they're in this universe, right? They all reside in the same kind of vicinity.
Yeah.
There's eventually going to be like a crossover or some sort of connection at some point, right? Matt or Daredevil has already been shown in She-Hulk. Let's not be surprised if in the next Miss Marvel installment we'll see Daredevil as well.
Yeah, no, I think so. And I agree with you. I did like the fact that while this episode didn't really connect to the rest of the season of Daredevil Born Again, it connected to the other Disney Plus show properties that we've been watching over the past 5 years. So I did like the fact that it shows, I mean, and she's based in Jersey City, so she's obviously very close to Matt Murdock, meaning Miss Marvel. So I like that. My final thing is I thought the guy with the green, the Devlin guy, I thought he sounded like Gerard Butler. You've seen the movie Plane, which I've been watching a lot of Gerard Butler movies lately because I watched Den of Thieves 2, Pantera. And then in this movie Plane, which came out a couple of years ago, Gerard Butler actually has an Irish or Scottish accent. So this guy sounds...
He was born in Scotland, but he's got I think he grew up in Ireland.
Okay.
So he muddles with both.
Yeah, this guy sounds very similar to him. Of course, I guess it's just kind of a standard Scottish or Irish accent, but anyway, I thought the guy did a pretty good job. And
I did like how he reacted to learning who Matt is, in the sense that his last name is Murdock. He's like, holy shit, like we have an Irishman. and even Matt doing the Irish accent to cover for the dude that he knocked out on the walkie was very well done. So shout out to all those Brits and English people who can do that side of the Atlantic accents.
Yeah. Devlin, he even mentioned like, oh, you're blind and you're an orphan. He's like, you're like a Charles Dickens character. I thought that was pretty funny. So
that was great.
Anyway, moving on to episode 6, titled Excessive Force. Let's jump right into that one. And first off, like we see right off the bat, the previous episode we had Miss Marvel referenced and her dad shown. And then in this episode, we start out by showing the swordsman who was in Hawkeye. One of, I think it was Jack Duquette.
Oh,
that's who that is. Yeah. And he's later on. Now he's not the main focus of the episode, but I thought it was interesting to have another tie-in to another, Marvel.
Okay, I was wondering why that was significant at all.
Yeah.
So okay,
so he's now a vigilante also, or I guess he always was. Yeah. But let's get overall thoughts for Excessive Force. Frank, let you start off. What did you think about episode 6?
Last 10 minutes was great. It's what I've been wanting for the last forever. The montage between Kingpin and Daredevil in two different places at the same fucking time was just chef's kiss. I loved it so much. At this point, I'm just like watching episode 6. I'm frustrated. It wasn't a bad episode. I'm just like, in my head, I'm thinking to myself, these motherfuckers got one more episode to like lose me as a viewer. I was at that point. And when and I kind of got the inclination that he was coming back into episode when Ayelet pretty much was like, "What are you gonna do about it?" Like the white tiger would have done something about it. What are you gonna do about it? You're not gonna do anything about it. I was like, bro, if he don't come out in this episode, he's never gonna come out. It's gonna be just Matt Murdock versus goddamn season. But no, like I think, look, Matt's he's a great lawyer. Like he's exquisite. Like he's, especially in the courtroom, he is one of one. What makes the show equally as great, if not greater, is the fight cinematography. Like, just it's hands down. It's fucking hands down. Like, one of my favorite fight cinematographies of all time is season 3 when he's fighting in the prison, going that long one shot. I would tell my grandkids like what I saw that day. Like it's you see so many great fight sequences in this series, and like I just need more of that. And like getting that against the Muse. Again, I'm not sure what version of the Muse this is. The version that I remember reading about 8 years ago, he was Inhuman. So I guess we'll see. But the beating that man took, and for him to walk away, I'm like, bro, he can't be human. There's no fucking way. There's no way he's human. He has to be juiced on something, steroid, adrenaline, and human DNA. Like that was crazy how he was able to walk away and Daredevil not pick up on his scent of him walking away or escaping. But no, I mean the last 10 minutes, episode 6, I went back and watched it 4 times a day. I loved it. It was just great, homemade, hallmark Daredevil at his finest. So
yeah, this definitely brought it back to the Netflix series that Frank put me on about all those years ago, and I couldn't be more grateful about that. However, leading up to it, I'm like Frank, just I'm antsy now. It's like he's got to be in the suit at some point, and then quite literally, fuck it. I mean, he literally said, "Fuck it," and goes to his super secret chamber on the top of his building and starts swinging away with his what do you call his weapons? Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
swinging away.
Like a grappling hook kind of thing.
Kind of like that, but there's something like his batons. Anyway, and he's just swinging away, and I'm like, fuck yeah, that was literally a great moment. I'm still getting used to the idea of him swinging about the rooftops, because in the Netflix series, of course, he would just literally haul ass and tumble and jump and just like from roof to roof, which I thought was really cool. Like the physicality behind that was really cool. The flying through the air like Tarzan and Spider-Man, like cool, great, but I'm still getting used to that aspect of this Matt Murdock Daredevil doing that. Anywho, good episode, really good episode. Couldn't agree more about what Frank said. The last 10 minutes of the episode, the fact that we're seeing the fight scenes happen simultaneously and the moves are transitioning smoothly from one character to the other. You see Fisk like bashing the guy's head. Adam, finally got to see more of Adam. We'll talk about that in a moment. But as Fisk is bashing in Adam's head, you see Daredevil bashing in Yu's head. I was like, bruh, like this choreography, this storytelling that we're getting, and finally see what was your write-up, Justin, for today's episode, talking about the divergent forms.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I couldn't have put that any more eloquently than that, because that was amazing. Great writing. That's why you're the word guy. But this storytelling we're getting, how both of these men have embraced who they are. And there's something earlier in the episode that the girlfriend, what's her name?
Heather.
Heather? Okay, she's so unimportant to me that I just don't remember her name. Sorry. However, sorry. I know Tristan feels some type of way about her, but I'm sorry. I couldn't care less. However, she has dialogue with Matt about her next book and the topic of vigilantes and wearing the mask. Are we hiding who we truly are, or does the mask allow us to tap into like this animalistic side of us that we normally would not ever do? without that mask. And it's like the mask for Daredevil, at least, it's who he is. Obviously, it's absolutely who he is. Whereas Wilson Fisk does not wear a mask. He's just hiding in plain sight. But it doesn't take much for dude to pop off and be an animal, because Frank, you talk about Muse being inhuman. I still stand by my thought of Kingpin not being human. Why does that dude never die? Why does he take a beating and never ever die?
Well, Adam didn't have a chance to give him a beating. That man had an axe and then lay a blow. Then lay a hand on him. Then lay a smidge of that blade on Kingpin. I was impressed. He was able to whoop ass in a suit. Like that's an Italian made tailored suit, and he didn't get an ounce of a spick of blood on that motherfucker. Yeah, I was impressed by that.
By the way, Frank, I don't know if you caught this, but the actor that plays Adam, think back to season 1 of You, Benji, the boyfriend to Guinevere.
That's Benji.
That's the same. That's Benji.
The guy that died from the peanut allergy.
Yep.
Holy, I didn't recognize him.
I had to look it up, but I'm like, he looks familiar. The long hair is throwing me off, but he looks familiar. Benji. Yes. Also, did he die? Did Adam die?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. No, he whooped his ass and threw him back in the cell. Like he's like his walking, pretty much
punch bag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think his plan is just to torture him for as long as he can. And I mean, you're going to beat him up like that, he's not going to last much longer, I wouldn't think. But, this episode, like overall for me, this episode, whereas episode 5 was self-contained, this one was the most like story arc, season arc focused of the season. And it's the one that progressed the story the most, because we finally got Muse. We learned about the serial killer who has killed 60 people. He's draining their blood, using it to paint these murals. The city finds out that I know. The city finds out that he's painting these murals. By the way, these murals are very intricate. They look really cool, but they're also like high up on buildings. It's like, how quick is it? Is this guy like the Flash? I mean, can he do like these murals like in 5 seconds? Has no one seen this guy, hanging from a rope or something? Because like, how are you doing all this stuff? First of all,
well, that's the thing. In the comic books, he's mad agile. Like, he's a Daredevil adversary, and like he's so agile, and like he has like an inhuman scent to where Daredevil can pick up his scent. So it's like he's a legit inhuman in the comic book. So my only concern is how they're going to be able to convey this and pass him over as a human. Like I don't, because again, that was a brutal beating he took, bro. Like if you watch the beatings that Matt has given out, he's broken limbs. He's left people like broken. This man, he had this man hung in the air, like choking like Hangman, and he was knocked out and then just got up and like escaped. I'm like, bro, like what? He better be it better be some type of amulet that's giving all this power, like to go hand for hand with one of the best dudes in the Marvel universe. You better explain some type of training. He better have some type of military tactics. A former assassin. Like I want to see what kind of storyline they're going to implement with like his origin story or his backstory. This Muse character.
To me, like, go ahead, Brittany. Say what you're gonna say.
I was just gonna say, during that fight scene though, when you see Daredevil do that flip in the air to knock out the motherfucker. Oh my goodness! Like, oh my goodness! I had to like fan myself. I was like, yes, we're back. We're back.
As far as Muse though, doesn't it seem like we should have seen more from him before this moment? Because like, Did we really even see him the first 4? I mean, obviously episode 5 wasn't at all, but like in the first 4 episodes, did we ever see him? We think we saw the person who's under the mask at Heather's book signing, right? Mm-hmm. But we didn't really get much about him. We would see the murals, but there was nothing really. I mean, maybe it's very like low key, like, oh, there's these murders happening, people are going missing. I mean, I think that's maybe what the BB reports were telling us, but like, it seems like we get him. It's like they needed to show him, but like it's also kind of like we saw so much. Matt has this big fight with him as Daredevil, and I don't know. It just to me it felt rushed. It was like it took too long to get to him, but also it felt rushed at the same time.
No, I completely agree because I feel like we weren't quite spoon fed this guy. Like it should have probably just happened from the get go. Yes, we also had White Tiger Vigilante dealing with that storyline. However, I still feel like we weren't really given enough to understand like the significance of this character, the storyline, and how that would play out in this particular episode. I feel like it was just kind of thrown at us.
Yeah.
And we just had to kind of take it and run with it, if you will.
Frank, what do you think about how Muse was kind of utilized in this episode? I mean, so far the season in this episode.
That would be my second biggest issue with this season so far is that the lack of buildup. Like typically with Marvel villains, with most villains in great shows, they're the hero for the other side. You see their perspective, whether it's right or wrong, you see their perspective and like you see the rise of the villain. And like again, like you said, like we think we saw him at the book signing, but I mean we don't know who he is. We don't know his goal. We don't know what he went through, his origin story. And I'm deeply concerned with the writing because if it was 18 episodes, did you take out vital information out of those 18 episodes and scale it down to 9? And if you did, it looks like you may have sacrificed some crucial building blocks of the story for this
100%.
character.
Yeah,
you know, and so 100%. It's like, and look, man, you're Disney. You can do the fuck you can do what the fuck you want to do. You're Disney. You're multi-billion-dollar company. You want to do 18 episodes? Do 18. You want to do 9? Do 9. But make sure the story makes sense and it flows. Because I wasn't, even the people that he killed, I have no connection to these people. And not until today when this episode when Ayelet was almost off, there was no connection to the victims at all. And like it would have been more intimate to like have him kill somebody that we know or somebody that we've seen show up in these episodes prior. And it's just like, cool, he beats the fuck out of this guy, and like where we go now? It's like I don't know. It's I have questions, and I don't know if the next 2 episodes are going to be able to answer those questions or fuse the story back together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Frank, I think it's actually the opposite. I think that like, and I haven't read this anywhere, this information might be out there, but I think this character was added to the new version of the show. I don't think this character was in the 18 episode version. I think they added this character in to kind of like, oh, we're going to add this very, violent, very kind of not controversial, but you know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to kind of spice up the show. And so I think that they added this character because he's relatively new, right? He's a Daredevil villain from like the past, 10-ish years, maybe.
That comic book came out in 2016. So it's not that old. He's a very new character.
So I would bet, and like I said, I haven't seen this information out there for sure to know if I'm right or wrong, but I bet he's a new addition to the show, much like how Foggy and Karen were added briefly, and how the Punisher was kind of, shoehorned in really, really quickly in that one episode. And we're probably not going to see him the remainder of the season. So yeah, that's why I keep thinking like if they can figure out, like if they can just get through this season is almost like a rebuilding season for a sports team or something. If they can get through this season and just have a good finish, I think season 2, if they have the same people who kind of were able to make this work, this Frankenstein of a season work, I think season 2 will really take off. And I think that's the best way to put this right now. I think right now we're seeing like the growing pains of 2 different ideologies for the show, and they're kind of clashing. They did their best to like,
it's a hodgepodge. That's what it is. It's a hodgepodge.
We've got this date. We've got to put this out there. We've got to put it out before these other things that come down the road. So we've got to get it out there. Right. So I think they probably did the best they could. I don't know that everybody's probably noticing some of the stuff because we're so into this stuff, but I do think that like, it just kind of feels weird sometimes that like you don't get enough of the characters that should be what you would think are the main characters for the show. So
But what's so
Go ahead, Frank.
frustrating about it is that you've had the rights to Daredevil for a better part of 5 years now. You had enough time to flesh out a good story. You had more than enough time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the writer's strike had anything to do with it, but
I think it did.
And if it did, that's fine. But like, if you're gonna have this story, and if you want to get to the point where you kill off Foggy and Karen moves on, bring these characters, because the reason why Daredevil is so great and so many people connect to this character is because they watched 3 seasons of this character previously. So it would have been just an easy transition to bring everybody over from the Netflix series, because again, you own the character, you own it,
right?
You own the rights, you own everything. So like, there's no Sony Spider-Man weird vortex shit. There's no like Incredible Hulk, Universal. Like, you own the rights to everybody. So just bring everybody over, and then a season in, if you want to kill off Foggy in episode 10 or in season 2, cool. But you, by what they did, you did a hard reset when you didn't have to. Right. It's like you own everything. So it's like that's what I'm kind of confused with.
Yeah, they reset everything. I mean, originally they were going to reset everything, but Charlie Cox is Matt Murdock and Vincent D'Onofrio is Kingpin. They're like, you know what, those 2 guys work as those characters, and we can fit them into the MCU and make this work. But the problem is those guys got their start from the Netflix show, which had other characters around them. And that's why those guys are great. Those characters, don't get me wrong, but like, it was it's kind of an ensemble show. There's multiple characters. There's multiple things happening, storylines. And to think that you could just discard those other characters. I mean, even the MCU, like if you get rid of Bucky, the Winter Soldier, like Steve Rogers' character is not as great. If you get rid of Sam Wilson, it's not, what I'm saying? Like all that stuff like works together and makes things better down the road. And so if you shed that stuff and think that, oh, we can just like take these guys because people know these people as these characters and we can do anything. Well, it's like, you can't like it wasn't a good idea. And I mean, I think it's good they realized it wasn't a good idea, but then they had to scramble to like reconfigure the show. And that's why we're having these like weird moments. Whereas I think next year, I think it'll be much better. I really do. I think they'll kind of iron it out and it'll be like, oh, this feels like what this should have been from the start, which is a continuation of the Netflix show that everybody liked, but we're introducing new characters also, which is like what you would do with any TV show. As the show continues to progress year after year, season after season, you add new people and you try to keep it going. So I think that's what we're looking at right now. And so there's great moments and there's also like weird moments that we just kind of have to like get through until we get to season 2.
Do you think we'll see Frank Castle again this season? I'm sorry, Brittany.
No, you're good.
Do you think we'll see Castle again this season?
Go for it, Brittany.
No, I don't. I don't either. I think that was just like the segue to bring him back into the fold, to then it not be such not a shock, but so blunt and thrown at your face with when the Punisher special comes out in the future. Because then that would just been like, well, that came out of left field. But if that's going to be like a continuation off of what we witnessed in this series, because now we have an update of what's happened with Frank since the season 2 finale of the Punisher. That's just how they're able to make like things work, in my personal opinion. But no, I don't think we'll see him. He was mentioned in this episode, obviously, when Heather was talking about her book. She's like, hey, Matt, you've had several vigilante clients that you've represented and know, like, maybe I can get an interview with the Punisher. And he's like, that's on point. Like, that's solid. Like that was pretty funny to me. And she's like, well, what about Daredevil? And he's like, no.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to see him either, which is kind of weird because of all the iconography of the Punisher and on the bullet that killed White Tiger and on the murals and stuff. But I don't think we're going to see him. But I here's a question I want to throw to y'all real quick. Do we think that, do we have any idea who might have killed White Tiger? I know we talked about this last week, and I'm wondering, maybe it was this new guy we meet, this officer Cold North, I believe. So Fisk is putting together his own task force, his own group of cops that he's handpicking. And one of them is that Officer Powell that Matt Murdock brutally beat, and the guy once more for whatever reason. His partner, by the way, has just a shattered left arm. But Powell wants more, and we meet this new guy Cole North, who apparently is a comic book character. Do we think maybe he's the guy who shot White Tiger? Frank, do you have any thoughts on Cole North and just this task force?
It's so weird, and again, it goes back to lack of story writing. If you have this man, White Tiger, killed, it would have been nice if you had the guy who killed him or the woman that killed him, like already debuted on the show, and like we've seen this person just in the shadows. It's like somebody we suspect type of aspect. And
right.
White Tiger died 2 episodes ago, and like if this is the person, it's like, well, shit. This takes out for the guessing game away from it. Takes the guessing game aspect away from him. Become like he came out of nowhere, and like I had no connection to his character. He just, and then we find out in the next episode he's the one that killed him. Again, I'm not pissed. I'm not angry. I have no connection to the guy because I just met the guy in this episode, and I don't know. It's weird. Like I still don't know. Like we haven't seen a lot of characters so far, as like the law firm and Kingpin and his cabinet, but like I don't know who would have done it. And if it's somebody if it's Cole or somebody that gets introduced next week or the week after, I think you kind of cheapen the White Tiger's death because it doesn't add any element of surprise because I'm not connected to any of these people if it's somebody that killed him like debuts later on in the series.
Yeah. Brittany, what do you think? Do you think the White Tiger death will be solved this season?
If it is, I think it won't be nearly as significant compared to the rest of the story, whatever that story may be, because I don't think we have like a solid something that Kingpin is doing that Matt is aware of, and that's what he's working towards to get it out there in the open or just wrap things up. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think we have that story even just yet. I don't think we will. I don't think we're going to get the find out who killed White Tiger anytime soon. If anything, it could be like finale or it's still like dangling for season 2, which I think would be a mistake. It's like, why drag it out? Why drag it out? Like, don't do that. But I feel ultimately we're not going to find out. I don't think we're going to find out. However, I'm still curious if it could be Bullseye, because I think I saw in the special for Daredevil Born Again where there was like a shot of Bullseye, but it appears like he was in prison and like the camera was on him. So I'm just curious when that scene, if it made it into the final cut of the series or not. If it did, when are we going to see that? And still, could he be the murderer of White Tiger?
Yeah, that was in one of the trailers for the show, was the Bullseye in like, the orange jumpsuit in prison. So, I kind of forgot about Bullseye until you mentioned him. We talked about him last week a little bit. I thought maybe he's the guy that shot White Tiger, but yeah, I kind of forgot about that too. It's like I said, it's kind of messy. Like I wish they kind of would, like, honestly, like, not that like Muse would necessarily shoot someone, but like maybe if Muse would have taken White Tiger's body or like that could have been something where you kind of have like you interject Muse and then you also use a character that at least we have some knowledge of.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Like I said,
so.
I think the White Tiger stuff was shot before they even had the idea of adding Muse to the show. That's why you wouldn't connect those two. Maybe that wouldn't have worked either. Yeah. Frank, what'd you think about Fisk? He's put on some more pounds, as we saw in the previous episode. So much so that he can't put on his old suits anymore, and he truly is becoming Kingpin.
Well, so that kind of went over my head because, like, earlier in the season, he lost a lot of weight because Daredevil said he's walking lighter and he looks, he's built muscle. So is that to say that the stresses of being mayor, he's stress eating and putting weight back on?
No, I think what it is, it's like how this episode, Matt became Daredevil. He became full circle, became Daredevil, and Fisk became Kingpin. It kind of shows that like he lost weight to be more appealing to voters because he wanted to help New York, and he's going to do it differently. He's going to be mayor. He's He's a changed man, just like how Matt Murdock is. He's just a lawyer. He's a changed man, but they're always going to be Daredevil and Kingpin, and eventually they're going to come back to being who they always have been. And that was just kind of like a breadcrumb to go, oh, look, like he's ripping his jacket when he puts it on, like because we saw last episode or the previous one, episode 4, he's eating that big pasta dinner with the sausage. And so it shows like he's not, the previous episodes, he's eating like an omelet, like with like one piece of asparagus, like super clean, super healthy food. And then now he's just chowing down on the stuff he used to always, going back to his old vices in every manner, from the violence to the food to everything.
I think it's
Kingpin,
like, it's that metaphor of
Right.
he's now indulging in the things that he craves.
Yeah.
And it's now reflecting in his physique, if you will.
Yeah.
No, I noticed that too when Vanessa was putting on the jacket and it ripped at the arm, and he's like, oh, like, my suits don't fit me anymore. Well, we should have them tailored. And I'm like, you, sir, need to get a Bowflex, work him out. Like, you didn't lose all that weight for nothing. Like, come on, let's get it together. Before we go any further, guys, I just see that we're being joined by another watcher joining us now. Tristan, what's going on, Tristan?
Oh, I'm good, man. Fresh off this bank robbery,
Hey, that's why you're late,
man. That and black barbers, man. I got stories. Black barbers don't respect time, none of that shit.
Oh my
appointments, none of that. Happy to be here, though, man.
Yeah, it's always good to have you. So, Tristan, we're wrapping up on episode 6, but let's get your thoughts on episode 5, and then tell us about what you thought about episode 6 also.
I mean, Inside Man.
That's what I said.
Man, like for one of those one-off episodes, man, I thought it was excellent. Both 5 and 6 just kind of continue the theme of the first 4 of like this parallel between Matt and Wilson of just looking for any reason. Like, both of them are trying their best to assimilate into like a new life, right? They're trying to bury this mask that they've been so willingly wearing for like so many years, and like, okay, I'll put it away for like this greater good. But what both of them are finding out is that there's, in this city, until like the rot of the city of Hell's Kitchen is cleaned up, then there's nowhere they can go where they won't need that mask. So, just trying to get alone, you know what I'm saying? Everywhere that Matt goes, because the hypersensitivity of his senses is like, he can't escape the evil and this larger plot that's happening in the city, literally everywhere that he goes, everywhere that he hears, everywhere that he sees, but everywhere that he just kind of senses. It's troubles everywhere. So I love the episode. I love how I love like just the maneuvering, like the way that he maneuvered, getting those guys, separated, so that he could, incapacitate one, get to the vault to save Mr. Khan, the bank manager. I thought episode 5 was an excellent episode, even though it's essentially in one setting, because you got to see how Matt can't get away from the trouble. Like, he could have easily just kind of left that up to the police, left it up to the SWAT team, left it up to the hostage negotiating, but he has to interject himself into that. And then it flows so perfectly into 6, where my favorite line from both of these episodes was 2 words: fuck it. Like, because I've been saying this since I was a kid, man. The 2 words that people make before they make like a life-changing decision is always fuck it. Like, even if you don't say it out loud, it's just fuck it. You know what I'm saying? And he said it, and again, that's a threshold that he just kind of had to cross, because it's always there. That mask was in his back pocket the whole time. And he just needed the right type of danger and the right type of motivation to like fully go there. So 5 and 6, I thought were just completely excellent. And it just continues this train of excellence that, Born Again has been going since the first 2, which were not to the standard that we were kind of used to. And now we see like the show getting back to that level.
Yeah. What did you think about the Muse character? Because we were talking about it a little bit ago about how the character, we've kind of we knew something was kind of coming, but like we didn't really know who this character was. And then all of a sudden in episode 6, he's very prominent. Matt becomes Daredevil to fight this guy to save the White Tiger's niece. What'd you think about how it seems like my thoughts are this guy probably wasn't originally a part of the idea for the first version of this show. And I think they kind of shoehorned him into the second version. Again, I don't have the information either way, but what are your thoughts on this character?
I could see that. If I had to nitpick these 2 episodes or the season as a whole right now, it would be Muse, and just, I won't say it's clunky the way they've introduced them, but again, we talked about it with, 19, all of these shows that we talk about. I think, and this is a larger conversation that, for another pod, but like the effects of these shorter seasons means that, especially for a show like this on Disney Plus, like you said, they're going to shoehorn a villain in there, right?
Yeah.
You come in this thinking that this is about, Matt Murdock versus corrupt cops, or Matt Murdock versus the legal system, or Matt Murdock versus Wilson Fisk, Kingpin. And now we have this new villain that essentially has kind of come out of nowhere. I would say I did not like the fact that we went from like Muse being this obscure villain to like being this mass murdering serial killer, like 40 kills and stuff like that. I feel like they could have done a little bit more throughout the other episodes to kind of sprinkle it in to where we got to like this crescendo of like, oh, damn, we got a serial killer. And that just came out of nowhere, but they made up for it with like an excellent fight scene. So like, I'm not really complaining. But yeah, they definitely could have done more. But again, this only have 9 episodes. So like, these are just some things we're just gonna have to complain about it, because that's what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I feel like they're going to get it figured out for season 2. Brittany, any final thoughts, any things we didn't mention from episode 6 that you want to touch on?
I think it's very brave of Hector Ayala's niece to kind of do the thing that he was trying to do. And it's ballsy. I mean, you're a young little girl. And speaking from one little girl to another, damn. So props to her for trying to find out what was going on along that I won't say abandoned, but the old train track where these people were going missing. And so she's smart, obviously. I mean, getting a 104 in English based on the bell curve, like good for you. So she's quick. She's smart. Unfortunately, not smart enough and not quick enough to what's the word I'm looking for, to avoid Muse, because he's the one who took her and began the process of draining her blood. And that's why Daredevil showed up, because he gets a phone call from Soledad, who is Hector's wife. Soledad's like, hey, she's missing. This is not like her. And that's why he's like, fuck it, because he knows no one else is going to go look for her. He knows the information that she shared with him in the law office. And he dons his suit once again and goes and saves her while providing us this amazing fight. But how he had to bring her back to life, basically, because her heart rate was dropping. It's just like thuds on the chest, and she wakes up, and I like how he says to her when she's like, Daredevil, he goes, yeah, I'm here. Like, I'm here. And it's like, motherfucker, yes, you are. Don't you go anywhere, because Frank needs you. But one other thing I wanted to ask y'all, and I'm sure you guys picked it up, when Luca comes and visits Fisk in the mayor's office, Fisk is telling him, hey, you still owe the money. Now I'm going to increase it because you're pissing me off. Fisk like puts an Apple pin, like a lapel pin, onto Luca. I'm like, is that just supposed to represent New York because it's the Big Apple? Or is there something significant about the Apple, you think? Like, is there a tracker? Is it a way to like see what Luca's up to and this and that, what have you? Like, what did y'all catch that? And am I just thinking way too much about it?
I caught it. I thought it was more just like a power play. Just like, you came in here. The reason why I don't think it's premeditated is because he didn't think Luca was coming. You know what I'm saying? Like he was, everybody was caught off guard about Luca being there, but it's more like, hey, you came in here trying to big time me, and I'm going to turn the tables on walk up, invade all of your personal space with all 6'8" or whatever the fuck Wilson Fisk is, and just put this pin on you because you know, like the little man that you are, and that was it. It could be more
tracksuit,
right?
Yeah. Now that was kind of a curious scene for me. Also, seeing the women that were murdered by Muse and the photos that were taken that were shown to Fisk was crazy. Of course, he seems completely unfazed because, you know, that's who he is. The beatdown of Adam, incredible. Jesus, God, why? But yeah, he's got to be back, right? He obviously has to be back. Like there's no back and forth. Kingpin's here. If Daredevil's here, Kingpin's here.
Yeah, and I mean they did a lot of cross-cutting this whole season with these two characters, but this episode especially the end when they're both fighting different people, but they're doing similar things, punching them in the face at the same time, and you know, Kingpin lets out this like guttural like mine when he's beating on Adam because of obviously with Vanessa, that was her lover. Yeah, I thought there are moments in this show that are just spectacular. They really nail it. And there's other stuff where it's like, man, you can really see where it was kind of like a Frankenstein of putting the season together after what happened. Frank, anything that we didn't mention in episode 6 that you want to talk about?
The lack of focal point of like where they want to go with the story. If you want to focus on Crooked Cops, focus on Crooked Cops. I really feel like this season Muse should not have been implemented, because when you implement a Marvel villain, you have to show the viewer his perspective or her perspective, why they're doing what they're doing. And to get this fight, again, don't get me wrong, I've been bitching about seeing Daredevil fight for the better part of five episodes. I love the action scene. I love the fighting scene. But again, I wasn't connected to the villain, or I didn't have like this, you know, disdain for the villain because I don't know the motherfucker. You would just throw it to my face like, hey, here's a bad guy who's killing 60 people in as many weeks. He's fighting Matt Murdock. He's fighting Daredevil. Like there's no connection. And for a Kevin Feige production and for a Kevin Feige produced story to not have a connection with the villain and that villain story conveyed to the screen, to the viewer, is problematic for me. Because again, if this was 18 episodes before, and let's say the Muse was involved in a better part of the 18 episodes, and you gutted nine of the 18 episodes down to this, and this is what you came up with, it looks like they took out some vital storytelling of the Muse. You know, again, we think we know who he is. We think we've met him at the book signing, but again, like we don't know anything about him. And it's like, for this to be a Disney-led production, you got to do a better job of like showcasing storylines from like the adversary or the villain of the story. And I have no connection to it at all. Like the only connection I had was Ayelet was in trouble. That was it. Like, cause I've seen Ayelet, you know. And again, like even all the 60 people that died before or got killed before, if it's people that we've seen or that was involved in the storyline prior to last night's episodes, I would have been have more disdain for the character. But because he's killed 60 fucking people, and out of the 60 people, we have no connection to any of the victims, that's like a bad storytelling. You got to do a better job to lure in the viewer to have a better understanding and have disdain for this so-called villain.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question to everyone?
Go for it.
Because I think I agree with everything Frank just said, by the way. As good as I think the episodes are, it leads me to like a larger question. Like, do we have the same expectations of Daredevil Born Again that we had of the Netflix series? Because I didn't. I feel like everything that has transferred throughout MCU to Disney Plus, the quality has dropped down a little bit to the point where I kind of expect it. And then especially when you tell me there's a 9-episode season, like I completely understand, like some stuff is just going to get rushed through. And I don't know if I don't know if it's just me that I've trained my brain to like expect less, right? Is it just me, or have we just built up different standards?
You know, go ahead.
Go ahead.
One quick, I'll say real quick, Tristan. Long time ago, years ago, you mentioned this. And I
7 years ago. No.
Right.
I was like in a galaxy far, far away.
No, but
Sorry.
I think what you're saying is it's a good point, because whenever this started on Disney Plus with WandaVision, their plan was, oh, we're going to shoot a movie, but we're going to cut it into 5 or 6 pieces and give you like, that's what the Falcon and the Winter Soldier kind of was, right? That's what WandaVision was. And it like, but that kept going. And it's like, that's not how, like, either you do TV or you do a movie, but you can't make a movie TV and vice versa. You know what I mean? So, and I remember several years ago, you mentioned about how like, you know, what this is like, it's just Marvel on Disney. Like that's what this is. And I think and I'm not speaking for everybody, but I know for myself, like for me, this show visually just does not look great. Like that's part of what throws me off. It's funny because they're dropping F-bombs like left and right in these episodes, but then like the show looks like a Disney show and it's on Disney's platform. It just, to me, I bump against so much stuff in this show. But yeah, I think that like my expectations are not as high, but I think it's one of those things where it's like, you know, we have one of these like every quarter, and it's like we kind of forget, like, man, Secret Invasion was really bad, but you know what? Then Loki season 2 was great, and then like, well, but then Agatha All Along started off really great, but then it ended really poorly, and it's like, yeah, but now we have Daredevil. Like it's just like the highs and lows, like we're like chasing this like dopamine from like what we had in the past, and I don't think we're ever going to get that back. Maybe with Avengers Doomsday, which we'll talk about here in a second. But Brittany, throw the question to you. Did you come in with this show with the same expectations of the Netflix show?
I absolutely did. And I'm someone who will tell y'all pretty much with every pod when we do reviews for movies or shows that I have tried to come in with an open mind to not have any expectations and therefore not be disappointed in anything. So that was not the case with Daredevil because of how amazing the Netflix series was. And Matt Murdock was great, whether he was in Daredevil or if he was in like the Defenders, because the Defenders was not that great. I will be the first to say it. But that show, the quality of the show, the roughness, the grittiness, like it was far more grounded and believable than what I'm seeing with this Disney Plus show. And it's sad. It pains me to say this, but Tristan, I think you said it very well in understanding the transition from one platform to the other, because there were going to be so many changes. However, when it was first announced with Daredevil being on Disney and then it was going to be an 18 episode run, I was like, this is going to be great. Like, this is going to be great. The Netflix series, each season was like 13 episodes, I believe. And they were, fairly long. It told a good story. And I'm like, 18 episodes for one season? Hell yeah. Like, hell yeah, we're back. Like this is going to be great. And then it gets cut in half. And now we're seeing like this hodgepodge, be thrown together. I won't say it's, chicken salad, because I have a little bit more respect for the show than that, but it definitely is not what my expectations were going to be. Frank.
I'm with Brittany, and I'm mortally disappointed because this is Disney. You have an unlimited wealth of resources. You make the world the way you want to make it for Disney. You have so much money, so much influence. And again, like the reason why I have so much faith in this show coming from Netflix is that they acquired the Daredevil property. Everybody. It wasn't like Spider-Man, like how the MCU, they make a Spider-Man movie, but they gotta get permission from Sony, and they can't use this character from this character from this production because it's Sony, or they have the Incredible Hulk, but it has to be in a team up movie. He can't be in a solo movie because Universal owns the rights. It's you acquired everybody from Daredevil, the whole shebang bang. So it was like you had all the characters, you had all the rights to the characters. This is your baby. Like you acquired everything. Like you have all the resources, and then Kevin Feige, for the most part, has hit it out of the park. Like he's been pretty much on point. When with these stories and these characters and like he spearheaded this. Like he was in the forefront of like, hey, we're bringing Charlie Cox, we're bringing Vincent D'Onofrio, we're bringing this world in. Like he was in the forefront talking about how much he's going to be involved in this story, and it's like you cut your nose to spite your face. Like you didn't have to get rid of Karen, you didn't have to get rid of Foggy. Like all these household characters that we so-called love and admire and cherish, you had the right to power over. Like it wasn't like the only Charlie Cox's character and Vincent D'Onofrio's character and everybody else was thrown to the wayside. You acquired the whole 40 acres and a mule. And again, when you have 18 episodes and when you had the rights for 5 years now, so you have more than enough time to formulate a good story and to put together a work of art. Because again, this is a well-loved character from the Netflix world, and you have way more resources than Netflix. Like Netflix has money. Disney has long money. They got long bread. They shit on Netflix as far as money, power, influence, all of that. So it's like when you have all of that, and you give me this when Netflix did this with way less resources and gave us this story, why could you do the same if at least the same, if not better? Like I expected better, but just give it the same. And they didn't do that. And it's like you didn't have to cut down to 18 to 9 episodes. You could have kept 18 episodes. You could have kept the characters from the previous series. That was all their decision. It was a unilateral decision. They decided to cut their nose and to scale it down. Nobody strong armed them. Netflix didn't strong arm them. Nobody did. This was their decision, and that's why I'm so disappointed that you had all the chess pieces on the board. Like there was no excuse for this to be as mediocre as it is.
I think again, thank you everybody answering that question. And again, I agree with everything that you're saying is right. I think what makes Disney is also why we're getting the media, like the lower quality, right? Like having all those resources. Disney is so overextended. I mean, it's probably not the best, parallel, but look at ESPN, right? The thing, ESPN will nail the basics, showing you a game, broadcasting the game, broadcasting content. Well, the thing that ESPN has lacked over the last 10 years, it's like storytelling, right? Like cutting edge storytelling. We don't even get 30 for 30s anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the storytelling element I think has dropped. Whereas I think Netflix, Netflix has long money. Netflix also loses a lot of money on these shows. Netflix is, at least to me, as a viewer standpoint, is more committed to telling a longer story, right? Taking those risks than Disney is. Disney is not taking many risks, right? So the show we have now is like a standard superhero television show. Like 25 years ago, this would have been on ABC on like Thursday night. You know what I'm saying? Like at 7 o'clock or some shit, Yeah. And I think Disney is kind of going back to like just a tried and true formula of like, this is how superhero television works. And it's like, actually we expect more because we've seen this show on a platform that's really not concerned with a lot of those standard TV elements. It's like, no, we're going to give you a cutting edge show and it's going to expand our imagination about this character. Whereas Disney is like, no, we're going to give you what we feel like you want to see from Daredevil. And I think that's the biggest things. And because I've seen so many Disney shows, Disney Plus shows, so many shows that move to some of like these more standard networks, like I guess I lowered my expectation for what it is in order to enjoy it more. Because I'm enjoying the shit out of it now. If I have to look at it through the lens of like, I'll tell you, I can't. I'm rewatching the Netflix series, right? I'm right at the end of season 1. I haven't watched any episodes since like Friday because I don't want to get, I don't want these two things to get like conflated. Like I don't want to conflate the story in the Netflix series with what's happening in Born Again, and it's allowed me to enjoy both on 2 different levels. So I was a little curious.
Yeah, no, good question. There's lots of things. I mean, the media landscape obviously has changed a lot over the last 10 years, but yeah, points well taken. Um, Tristan, any final thoughts from these episodes that you want to mention before we get out of here, or before we go to our next subject?
I more so kind of like looking ahead, but like Matt's relationship with Heather. I can see her, obviously she's, getting pressure to write a book.
Yeah.
I can see her kind of starting the process of like psychoanalyzing him. And I wonder in her analysis of like other vigilantes, like what traits and similarities will she start to see in him? So I did think that was an illuminating scene in episode 6. Her like kind of starting to psychoanalyze, start to use like a lot of that therapist jargon, and him pushing back on that. So I'm looking forward to that in these next few episodes.
Frank and Brittany, do y'all have thoughts about this? Because y'all predicted that he would mention Heather Glenn. But go ahead.
Tristan, I'm glad you weren't here earlier when I was talking about her, because I'm like, I don't give a damn about her. Like, I don't.
Oh, I do.
He has a damn to give about her. Let's say
there are fucks to be given. Yesenia is with me here in the chat. She's like, no offense, I don't care about the girlfriend. Girl, listen, thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for backing me up. Yeah, no, I can see Tristan's point in looking ahead of how she's probably going to connect the dots. I think I saw like a sneak or maybe like a spoiler photo where it seems that their worlds are all going to collide, right? Matt, Heather, and then the Fisks. I mean, they're going to collide at some point, and maybe she'll finally kind of put 2 and 2 together about the connection that these men have with one another.
Yeah, 3 more episodes to go. We still got a long way to go before the season's over, but we'll be looking forward to seeing how it all plays out and how it leads into season 2, which I will believe will be a better version of this show than what we got in season 1. So moving on, I'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this, because today Marvel had some exciting news. They unveiled the cast for Avengers Doomsday, which hits theaters May 1st, 2026. That's what it's slated for right now. I think it might get pushed, but they dropped the news today. They dropped it in a 5.5 hour live stream where they slowly introduced an actor by putting up a director chair with their name on it. And then like 15 minutes later, they would show another one. So exciting news, but not presented in the most exciting way. They did, however, later on today, they posted like a 90-second version, which was capped by Robert Downey Jr. coming to his chair to sit down, because obviously he's going to play Dr. Doom in Doomsday. That's what matters the most. But I want to mention the names of the actors who are going to be in Doomsday that we know for sure. They confirmed them today, and talk about some of that, and talk about yeah, Yesenia said it best. I don't have time for that. I was at work today. I made time for it. I'm way into this. Doomsday is one of my, I can't wait for this movie. I did it, 5.5 hours is a tough live stream with no one's talking. It's like just every once in a while there's musical cues. They did have some pretty cool things to mention. So I want to get to that real quick. In the chat, I'm going to drop the names of all the actors who were officially in the movie. And for those listening, I'm going to read off the list, and I'm going to get everybody's thoughts on who's mentioned and who's maybe not mentioned. Some notable people who were left out, and see what we think about that. So Chris Hemsworth, Thor, is returning. Anthony Mackie's Captain America will be in the movie. Vanessa Kirby, who will make her debut in Fantastic Four: First Steps this summer. Susan Storm will be in the movie. Paul Rudd, Ant-Man, is back. Florence Pugh, Yelena Belova, who will be in Thunderbolts on May 1st or May 2nd, I believe. You've got Tenoch Huerta, Namor. He's back. Shang-Chi's back. Bucky, of course, is back. Letitia Wright's Black Panther returns. Evan Moss Bacharach, who will play the Thing in the Fantastic Four, he'll be in Avengers Doomsday. Here's the surprising one. Kelsey Grammer as Beast, returning from the Fox movies. Of course, we saw Kelsey Grammer in the post-credit scene of the Marvels. So I guess it makes sense to bring him back. You've got Lewis Pullman, who will be playing Sentry, who will be introduced in Thunderbolts. So I guess he will make it through that movie, if in case we were wondering about that. Danny Ramirez is Joaquin Torres Falcon is going to be in the movie. Joseph Quinn, another member of the Fantastic Four, Johnny Storm, will be in the film. David Harbour, Red Guardian, who's one of the Thunderbolts, he will be in Doomsday, as will Winston Duke and M'Baku, the Black Panther movies. Hannah John Kamen, who's Ghost, also a character from the Thunderbolts, which a lot of people thought might die. Well, apparently she's not going to die because she's going to be in Doomsday next year. And here's another surprising one. Tom Hiddleston, Loki, will return. And I think we'll talk about that here in a second about that character. And now we're getting into the ones that really hit for people. Patrick Stewart, Charles Xavier, Professor X will be in this movie, as will Ian McKellen's version of Magneto.
Woo!
We'll get Alan Cummings' Nightcrawler from the Fox movies, Rebecca Romaine's Mystique, and James Marsden's Cyclops. Can't wait to see those characters. And from Deadpool and Wolverine last summer, Channing Tatum's Gambit, which is exciting.
Woo!
And, you got the Fantastic Four characters. Of course, you got to have Pedro Pascal as Mr. Fantastic. He'll be in the film. And then finally, Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. Like I said, he came out to wrap up the event, sat in the chair, gave the shush sign, and then he walked off as the Avengers music played. The music sounds awesome, by the way. I wish they would have just dropped the 90-second clip, but they made it a 5.5 hour thing where I'm sure they dominated social media. They probably killed it with engagement. So all the people that are hating on it, I'm not hating on it, but all those people, they watched it or they're talking about it now. So, Marvel Studios won today, no matter what. But let's talk about some of the surprise names that were included. Brittany, what names that I mentioned jumped out to you?
Well, when you were talking about the X-Men, like the Fox 2000 X-Men, I was like, Sir Ian McKellen is coming back? Holy shit. That is amazing to me. I'm a fan of the Fox X-Men. I really truly am. I love those damn movies. They're so good, in my opinion. I love that Nightcrawler. Alan Cummings is coming back as well. I love the look from X2. I think it was such a cool look. And then Channing Tatum coming back as Gambit. I think that's amazing. It's like, whoo, I'm about to make a name for myself. But God damn, yes. I also, I didn't see this initially, Justin, but that the actor that plays Namor, Tanash, he is coming back. We've got oh damn, I just spaced on how to say his name. Wait, where is it? I have the pop somewhere. Where the frack is it? Frank, help me out here. What does it?
Cuckoo Khan?
Cuckoo Khan.
How did you forget that?
I don't know. I had a cultural brain fart. I apologize to my people. I apologize. Damn it. I was just excited.
Cuckoo Khan.
There we go.
He does that so well. Oh my God.
So Frank, of the people that are the actors and characters that'll be included in Doomsday, what are you excited about?
How are they gonna be able to pay all these people, dog? No, I'm excited. I'm excited as equally concerned because you put a lot of pressure on Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four to hit. You put a lot, there's no. We haven't seen Chris Hemsworth since Love and Thunder. That was 4 years ago now. 3 years ago now.
It came out in 2022, I believe.
So 3 years ago. Ant-Man was 3 years ago as well.
2023. Yeah.
Yeah. So to throw all these characters at us, is there going to be what bridge movie are you going to have?
This is the bridge.
Yeah. So, there's no bridge. So it's I'm concerned. We're going from Fantastic Four in July and rolling straight into 70 actors and actresses in Doomsday in May. It's how are you gonna make all this fit? I don't know. I'm excited for the cast for sure, but again, you have no bridge to bring in all these people that's gonna be in Doomsday.
Yeah.
Is Doomsday gonna be in Fantastic Four? when's this conflict going to take place? I think what made Thanos in that storyline so great is that you saw Thanos for the better part of 10 years leading into Infinity War. Like you knew he was in the shadows, he was moving, like you know, he had minions, he had the Chitauri army and Avengers, he had Ronin and Gone in the Galaxy. Like he had minions, and like you knew that the threat was coming, right? And like now with Doomsday, he's just gonna show up. Like it's gonna be like a souped up muse, like with no connection, like just hey, here's one of the most powerful villains in Marvel. 55 heroes, have at it. Let's get it. And it's like I don't know how to feel about this.
I think I have some answers for you. I do believe that Robert Downey Jr. will be in Fantastic Four in a post-credit, mid-credit scene, I believe. But the Russo brothers, they're directing the movie. They, of course, did Avengers Infinity War, Avengers Endgame, and they mentioned how doing Endgame was like a final, like a finale of a story, right? And they said that the difference in Endgame and Doomsday is the beginning of a story. And so that's why basically Marvel's like, hey, we're going to do our best to make as much money as we can from Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four. And then we're going to let the Russo brothers take all this stuff and start to create something new. The beginning of what's next for Marvel going into the mutant saga. So they're going to do Doomsday, then they're going to do Secret Wars, which is supposed to come out the following year in 2027. And in that movie, I think we're going to literally see everybody. And that the budget for that movie is probably like $8 billion. But we'll get to that one when we get to it. Tristan, seeing and hearing these names, what are you excited to see, or do you have any what are your questions about this cast so far?
I'm not excited at all. I'm excited for the movie and love so many of these actors. I wish we weren't getting the same Professor X and all these things. My biggest thought when I saw this was the Marvel of my youth, and by youth I mean like 2018, wouldn't have to do this, right? Like it would just give you like I think we're at the point where we don't need like extraneous marketing type things. Like this is too much shit happening in the world right now.
Yeah.
Give us great movie. Give me great movie. Like that's what we want. That's what we need. Give us a great story that builds upon, the movies that came before. Something that raises the level of the MCU. And I'm not saying that they can't do that. I'm just saying like this is a type of gimmick that I feel like they just never had to do, because the anticipation for like these movies and these actors, these characters was so high. And I do think Marvel's kind of feeling a little bit of a pressure because a lot of the TV shows have either bombed or they just have not raised the level of the overall, these phases, these storylines. So like they have to kind of go a little bit harder as far as the marketing. I just didn't feel like I didn't need this. Like I didn't need it at all. I wasn't like hanging on the edge of my seat for each actor to be revealed. Like, man, I'll see him when I get there, or do this a little bit closer to when this movie's supposed to come out.
Yeah.
I am excited for the movie. I'm excited knowing that all these characters are going to be there. I just didn't need like this. This seemed like some Super Bowl shit that I didn't necessarily need.
I feel like it could have been like the NFL or NBA draft. They could have done it in a more entertaining way. But the reason why they put this out is because they're about to start filming in London, like I think in the next 2 weeks. So they put it out there, so all these scooper sites and all these sites are like, oh, so and so's in the movie. Now it's like who's in the movie. Now, granted, we don't know who all is. There's going to be people in the movie that we don't know, right? Because there's some characters that are missing from the list of characters I said. And I want to get y'all's thoughts on that. But well, before I do that, first I want to say like I was really excited to see the Fox X-Men characters because of what happened with Deadpool and Wolverine. I think they got to wrap up that storyline before they continue their, if Marvel Studios is going to have their version of the X-Men and start over, they've got to wrap up the storyline of the Fox characters. And I think that's why these characters had to be in Doomsday and hopefully Secret Wars. But to me, the most exciting name was Tom Hiddleston. simply because of the ending of Loki. And I would implore everyone, if you have not watched Loki season 2, you need to watch Loki season 2 before you come to see this movie, because Loki's ending in that series is one of the better endings of anything in Marvel. And it's really going to be interesting to see how they integrate that character into this storyline. And also, I mean, who doesn't want to see Thor and Loki reunite one more time? I'm looking forward to
Hell
that.
yeah.
So
I need to see Get Help again. I need to see that happen.
yeah. So that I'm excited for those two things. But then as far as the people that weren't mentioned, let's talk about some notable names. We didn't see Spider-Man's name. We don't have Steve Rogers. We don't see Hulk, which I think is kind of strange. Hawkeye wasn't mentioned. Daredevil and Punisher. These guys are going to be in some of these movies. Maybe they won't be in Doomsday. I think they're going to be in Secret Wars. And then also Deadpool and Wolverine. I mean, they had the biggest movie Marvel's done in a while, 1.3 billion last year. You can't, like, there's no way Hugh Jackman is not in these movies if these other X-Men characters are. So those characters, and then also Doctor Strange. Like, where's Benedict Cumberbatch? So Brittany, give me your thoughts. Which character are you most surprised to not see, and when do you think we will see those characters?
The Spider-Man and Doctor Strange one, I think, kind of strikes me the most, and that's given the events of Multiverse of Madness, where that spell went wrong, and
no, that was No Way Home.
You're right.
Part.
Sorry, I'm like misspeaking. You're right. I'm just you're right. Yes. So it's a little curious with Spider-Man not being a part of it, but with Doctor Strange, I know Benedict had been out in the press basically saying like he was going to be in it or he wasn't in it, and then he's like, yes, I'm going to be in it, and then he's like, oh no, really, I'm actually not going to be in it. I have no idea what's happening right now, which is sad for me because I love me some Benedict. I would love to see him sparring with Loki again. I think that would be fun. But yeah, I think probably that one the most. I was kind of hoping for Wanda. You know, I would love to see the Scarlet Witch again. I don't believe she's dead. I will say that I don't believe she's dead at all. So it would have been great to see her make a grand return.
Frank, what about you? Characters that weren't mentioned that still could be in the movie, but who was the most like the biggest snub, so to speak, if we're using like draft parlance or you know, words talk?
I won't say biggest, but I was surprised that none of the X-Men from the First Class reboot are in this like at all, outside of Logan. But like James McAvoy's Professor X,
gotcha.
Fassbender's Magneto, I was surprised none of them were in this. And I mean, for it to be a multiversal movie, you'll think you'll see that version of X-Men in it too. I was surprised by that. Yeah, Wanda, Vision as well. Are they doing a Vision show?
So there's a lot of rumors that they're going to do a Vision show. It's like Vision Quest or something is the name, but they haven't officially announced that. They haven't given a time. So that's like, I'm sure they're going to have something TV wise next year before Doomsday, but they haven't announced the slate for that yet. So
yeah, Rhodey. I didn't see Rhodey.
Yeah.
I didn't see Don Cheadle's name in there either. So yeah, the couple. I mean, I'm sure that they're keeping some stuff on the wrap. So maybe some kind of contractual things hasn't been released yet. But yeah, I mean, definitely. Yeah, I don't think Hawkeye's gonna be in this. I think he's retired, right? I don't think he's coming back.
I don't know.
That's remained to be seen, I think. One other thing, Frank, sorry to interrupt, but because we see Kelsey Grammer, Beast, and what have you, that was at the ending of
the Marvels.
Yeah.
And that's because Photon is in their universe. So it's also curious that maybe she's not involved as well.
And Cara Danvers, I didn't see her name either.
Yeah, that's a good. I didn't think about her too. Yeah, Captain Marvel. Good catch. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
A lot of names. I mean,
Yeah.
look, I'm happy that M'Baku's going to be here, but I mean, a lot of minor characters got named, and like a lot of the big characters like Captain America and like Brie Larson. I'm surprised a lot of people didn't get named, but maybe they're holding them back for a certain reason. So
yeah, there's going to be surprise cameos and there's going to be surprise additions. I mean, they wouldn't give away every member of the cast, but it is interesting the people that are missing. Tristan, do you have a notable name that's not among the cast that you're kind of curious about?
That's a good question. I didn't see Tom Holland. Did
Yeah, no Spider-Man, which is very strange because I feel like one of the things about Robert Downey Jr. being Doom, one of the big scenes that you're going to want to show is Tom Holland Spider-Man seeing Robert Downey Jr.'s face, but as a potential villain. Like that's going to be worth the price of admission for a lot of people to see those two people reunite, but then it's not the same person.
Yeah, that's the biggest one I could think of. Again, I'm not a big fan of these characters, these actor and actresses reveals, but that one jumped out.
Yeah, Yesenia mentioned in the chat Star-Lord. Yeah, there's no Guardians that were mentioned in this, so that's interesting. Because you figure Chris Pratt will be a part of it. Given that at the end of Volume 3, we got the Chris Pratt or Star-Lord the legendary Star-Lord will return. So if he doesn't return in this movie, when's he going to return?
Yeah, because he's on Earth, right? He's on Earth now, right?
Yeah, he's with his dad in Missouri, I think.
Yeah,
I think it's Missouri. Yeah.
I was going to say something, but now I'm just getting tired and silly.
Well, we'll wrap it up. Any final thoughts on the cast reveal for Avengers Doomsday, which will be in theaters May of 2026?
I think it will be pushed back for sure, but I agree that there will be additional cast added gradually, whether that's to be revealed to us while production is underway. Who knows? We might just be surprised when we go and watch the movie. Mid-credit, post-credit, all the credits. Let's go.
Yeah. Something tells me that they're gonna do. Something tells me Chris Evans and Benedict and those guys are gonna show up at Comic-Con. I think they're gonna keep some of the bigger names. Well, not bigger names, but some of the other names for Comic-Con. I think.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see them announcing somebody else at Comic-Con because you're gonna have another Comic-Con before the movie comes out. So that tracks. Tristan, final thoughts? Anything from this thing that you want to talk about that we didn't mention?
Not really. I'm surprised. I keep coming back to it. I'm surprised they went with this. Like, our attention spans aren't built for a type of, like, I don't want to call it a gimmick, but it is a gimmick. Marketing ploy, I would say. Like, we're not going to remember this, you know what I'm saying, by next month. I would have loved to, like, see these characters just kind of pop up on the screen, like get those same type of shocks and surprises that we used to get.
Yeah.
But we're in a different media landscape to where you just kind of have to keep throwing these things out there. They probably, I wouldn't be surprised if they have more of like these marketing ploys around this movie, you know, as we get closer to it, just periodically, like once every 6 months or something like that. Like, hey, remember, Doomsday. I wouldn't be surprised about that.
Yeah, and I think also part of the reason why they mention these names is because the scrutiny over Marvel is like, it's crazy. I mean, like, there's so many people that are reporting on this stuff constantly, speculating, and so this information was going to get out there eventually, and through you know, like paparazzi kind of photos or whatever you want to call it, you know, these scooper images, and I think they just want to kind of control the story as much as they can. With this cast. So again, there's gonna be plenty of other surprises coming, but I appreciate they gave us the information. I don't think a 5.5 hour live stream is the best way to do it, but I'm sure they did well. I'm sure they did well with social media today. So kudos to Marvel Studios. That about does it for us this week. Brittany, now that everybody knows what we thought about Daredevil and the cast reveal for Avengers Doomsday, we want to know what they think and how can they tell us what they thought about all this stuff, all this wonderful, all this marvelous Marvel content.
Oh, you just had to throw that in there, didn't you? Join us as always for our live streams. Shout out to King B. Johnson, Yesenia, M Moves, and Rahib earlier, who joined us earlier. appreciate y'all being here. If I missed anyone, I apologize. But for those who are watching our replay, be sure to leave a comment down below and tell us your thoughts on the latest episodes of Daredevil Born Again, and who are you excited for to see in Doomsday? That comes out next year. We'll see. But that being said, be sure to give us a follow, subscribe to us here on the Watchers in the Basement YouTube channel. Currently, we're at 438 subscribers. Let's get to 500, y'all. Like this video, as well as hit that notification bell. That way you know the next time we go live. And follow all of our social media links, which are in the description box down below. And check us out on our audio podcasts available to you on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Give us a follow and give us a 5-star rating.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. So for Brittany and for Frank and for Tristan, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.